Hello Planeswalkers! Andrew here with a fiery new deck tech. We've got one of the new legendary dragons from the Forgotten Realms, Inferno of the Star Mounts. Inferno is a 6/6 flyer with haste that cannot be countered. You may pay a red to give him +1/+0 for the turn, and when his power becomes 20 this way, he deals 20 damage to any target. Needless to say, this is the embodiment of red deck wins. Worth noting that his power just needs to become 20 using this ability, meaning we could boost him all the way up to 19 power if we wanted to, while still being able to trigger his damage with his own fire breathing. In this deck I put in Anthem Effects that boost either all of your creatures or all your dragons, as well as cards that specifically buff Inferno. Let's take a look at the latter of those first. Eldrazi Conscription gives +10/+10, Trample, and Annihilator 2, which forces the defending player to sacrifice 2 permanents when the enchanted creature attacks. Embercleave has Flash, gets cheaper for each attacking creature you control, and grants +1/+1, Trample, and Double Strike, which can easily make Inferno one-shot with commander damage. Nim Deathmantle gives +2/+2 and Intimidate, but it also makes the equipped creature a black zombie, which can cause it to lose any dragon-typed Anthem buffs. That said, Intimidate makes it unblockable except by artifact creatures and black creatures. Power Matrix gives +1/+1, First Strike, Flying, and Trample for the turn when tapped. Rowan, Fearless Spark Mage, can give a creature +3/+0 and First Strike for the turn. Sword of the Chosen can be tapped to give a creature +2/+2 for the turn. Tangrath's Rage gives an enchanted creature -2/-1 when not attacking, and +3/+0 instead while attacking. Since there's no stipulation on Inferno about using his ability more than once each turn, if he somehow loses power after his ability gets him to 20, you can pay into it again to get him back up to 20 and trigger him again. With Tangrath's Rage, you attack with him, in response paying to get into up to 20 power and dealing 20 to someone. Then on your main phase 2, his power goes down to 15, and you can pay into him again to deal 20 again. We'll do some more of this later on in the deck tech. We run Toralf just for his hammer form, which gives +3/+0 and can be paid into and unattached to bolt something. This can also drop Inferno's power after getting him to 20. Unleash Fury doubles a creature's power for the turn. Be careful not to use this after Inferno reaches 10 power, or you'll double it to 20 or more, and since his triggered ability only goes off if his own fire breathing gets him to 20, this won't do what you want it to do. It's like blackjack, but -2. Don't bust. Let's get through the power reducing cards real quick, since there aren't very many more of them than what we've already covered. Belby's Armor lets you pay X to give a creature -X+X for the turn. Clock of Omens is here to untap Belby's Portal, or really any artifact you want. Same with Galvanic Key and Voltaic Key. I put them in because there aren't very many ways to temporarily reduce a creature's power. Umezawa's Jite gets 2 charge counters when its equipped creature hits a player. You can remove a charge counter to either give a creature +2/+2 or -1/-1 for the turn. Now for the Anthem Effects, as well as pretty much everything I put in here meant for dealing extra damage. Crucible of Fire gives your dragons +3/+3. Dictate of the Twin Gods and Furnace of Wrath both double damage, which can backfire spectacularly, so be careful. Door of Destiny says you choose a creature type, dragons, and it gets a charge counter whenever you cast a dragon, giving all of your dragons a buff equal to those charge counters. Fiery Emancipation triples only damage you deal. This won't necessarily backfire when it comes to doubling incoming damage, but it will make you an immediate target, since doubling, let alone tripling Inferno's triggered 20 damage is a death sentence, even to a player at full health. Hall of Triumph has you choose a color, and then it boosts all of your creatures of that color by +1/+1. Icon of Ancestry has you choose a creature type, dragon, and gives them +1/+1. Jessica, Thrice Reborn, can make a creature deal triple damage the next time it hits an opponent with combat damage. Kedis, Emberclaw Familiar, says if your commander deals combat damage to a player, Kedis does the same amount to each other opponent. Konda's Banner can only be equipped to a legendary, and if it's on from Inferno, it gives your red creatures +1/+1 and your dragons +1/+1. Lathless, Dragon Queen, makes a 5/5 dragon when a non-token dragon enters your field, and you can pay into her to pump all your dragons. Moonveil Dragon can be paid into to do the same thing. Skylon Despot makes you the monarch when it enters, and as long as you're the monarch, it makes a 5/5 dragon on your upkeeps. Temur Battle Rage can give Inferno Double Strike and Trample for the turn. The Immortal Sun disables Planeswalkers, draws you an extra card each turn, makes your spells cost 1 less to cast, and gives all of your creatures +1/+1. Utvara Hellkite makes a 6/6 dragon whenever one of your dragons attacks. Vanquisher's Banner has you choose a creature type, giving them +1/+1 and drawing you a card whenever you cast one of those spells. For support cards, we have Faithless Looting, which has you draw 2, then discard 2. Font of Mythos lets you draw 2 extra cards each turn. Horn of Greed has players draw a card whenever they play a land. Howling Mine gives everyone an additional draw each turn. Lithoform Engine can do several things. Chief among them is copy Inferno's triggered 20 damage. Strionic Resonator does the same thing. Lastly, Mind's Eye says whenever an opponent draws a card, you can pay 1 to also draw 1. Now on to Mana Ramp, which I put a fair amount of in here to give you the means of reaching 20 power with Inferno's ability as soon as possible. Braid of Fire has cumulative upkeep, add a red, which essentially adds a red mana on your upkeep for each of your turns that it's been on the field. Burnished Heart can be sacked for 2 basic lands. Caged Sun and Gauntlet of Power have you choose a color, and then it buffs your creatures of that color by +1/+1, and makes your lands that tap for that color add an extra mana of that color when tapped. Chandra, Bold Pyromancer has a +1 that adds red and shocks a player. Chandra, Torch of Defiance has a +1 that adds 2 red. Chromatic Orrery can be tapped for 5, and it lets you spend mana as if it were mana of any color, meaning you can use its 5 colorless mana as red mana. Desperate Ritual and Pyretic Ritual cost 2 and add 3. Seething Song costs 3 and adds 5. Horizon Stone is like Crufix, turning your mana colorless instead of draining it from your mana pool. Jessica's Will has you choose one or both if you have Inferno out, and it adds a red for each card in an opponent's hand, or it lets you exile the top 3 cards of your deck and you can play them this turn. Koth of the Hammer has a -2 that adds a red for each mountain you control. Leyline Tyrant prevents you from losing unspent red mana, which it's good to know that Horizon Stone only turns unspent mana colorless if it would drain, and the Tyrant prevents it from draining in the first place, so it stays red if you have both out. Neheb, Dreadhorde General, lets you discard any number of cards when he hits a player, adding a red and drawing you a card for each card you discarded. Neheb the Eternal adds a red for each damage your opponents have taken this turn at the start of your post-combat main phase. Nyx Lotus can tap to add red mana equal to your devotion to red. Soul Ring is the classic, and Soul Talisman is the poser. Wayfarer's Bauble can be sacked for a basic land. Lastly, we have lands, consisting of Cathedral of War, which has Exalted, Dwarven Ruins taps for red or can be sacked for 2 red, Lotus Field has you sack 2 lands on entry and taps for 3, Rogue's Passage can make Inferno unblockable, and Tyrant Sanctum can turn Inferno into an indestructible god. We also run 29 mountains. And there you have it, the deck that requires you to do math to avoid busting Inferno's power stat. This deck has the potential to do a ton of damage very fast, and is consequently a major target in most games. I had a ton of fun brewing this, and I hope you enjoyed it too. If you did, leave a like and consider subscribing. Let us know what you think in the comments below. And as always, have a great day, y'all!